GingerGM.
Okay, so what I'm going to talk about today, I'll probably just do a bit of a half an hour chat, and I'll get you guys to ask any questions as we go along. I thought I'd teach you an opening idea with the white pieces that you might want to use. And before I get on to the opening idea, let's just discuss some of the things that I play myself on a regular basis. I mean, every time I've done a DVD, and I've done a fair few DVDs, I've always tried the opening out. Now, the first thing I will say to you is that this is not always the right strategy. I mean, I'm a grandmaster. I've played chess for like too long, 34 years or something. And when I got to international master level, I only played the same openings all the time. I did not change, and that's what helped me improve. Don't try to learn so many different openings you can't master any of them. It will get confusing. But you also need to pick openings that suit your style. And I really enjoy playing as white. Let me just get an analysis board up so we can do all our work on the analysis board. I might have to adjust. Okay, that's right. I really enjoy playing a d4. I've always really been a d4 player. And as you may know recently, I've been doing a lot of London systems with the bishop coming here, and then either the Jabava London system, which the knight comes to this square, or I play the normal London system with the pawn coming to this square. So let's just say d5, bishop f4, for example, and now knight to f6, and here the London system, you play this kind of stuff, e3. Jabava London system, you put the knight here, something like e6, this kind of stuff. So this is the London system, and I've had a lot of success with this. This kind of, the normal setup, I'm sure most of you are aware, is along this line here, and this is like, the London system. This is how white develops his pieces in the London system. But most importantly, look where the bishop is. The bishop is on that square. And top players in the world are playing this now, and they always have done. Magnus Carlsen's been playing this, Aronian, most top players have played the London system. Now, after d4, another setup that black often plays, and when you get higher up in level, when you become a better player, you will start to do more preparation against your opponents if you're playing tournaments. This might not be relevant to a lot of you, but at the level I play at, and in competitive chess, you'll generally know what your opponent plays by searching their games beforehand. And a very common opening for black against d4, one of the most common lines, is the Nimzo Indian defense. And that is where black basically goes knight to f6, pawn to e6, and then b6 and bishop b7, trying to control these squares with the bishop. This is the Nimzo Indian. So after the move knight to f6, if we do the Jabava London system, bishop f4, e6, we can do the same thing, or the London system, knight here, b6. We get slightly different kind of opening here because black hasn't gone d5. We can do the same stuff. And this is the Nimzo Indian defense against the London system. And this is very, very popular, the Nimzo Indian. Again, most top players have played this. Well, it's a Queen's Indian or Nimzo. Let's not be anal about things. Words don't matter that much. It is the Nimzo because, well, the Nimzo, I suppose, when you put the knight on c3, it really doesn't matter. It's the Queen's Indian, Nimzo Indian. It's the same thing. Come on, it really doesn't matter. It's a name. The Nimzo, if you're going to be really anal, is this particular line where white puts the knight on c3 and black then goes bishop b4. But I'm talking about setups, not names. I don't care about the names. You don't need to know names. You need to know what's going on in the position. So who cares what it's called? And this position here, you could say is a Nimzo, but after b6, it's the same kind of thing. It's about the setup. So Queen's Indian, Nimzo Indian. Okay, that kind of thing. Which is very, very popular, the Queen's Indian, Nimzo Indian. Now, I expect a lot of you, if you've brought my stuff in the past, do play the London system, or if you brought my latest DVD from GingerGM, I expect you play Knight C3 and you play the Jabava London system. Now, when you're trying to build up your repertoire, if you're getting bored of playing the London system every game, which you might do after playing it for 5 years all the time, you might think, hang on a minute, this is getting a bit boring. How do you develop your openings? And this is something that I did to help me go from International Master to Grandmaster. Openings are important. Well, I suggest you improve your openings by getting other openings, using other openings that are very similar to the one you know very well. So I've been talking about the London system. If you want to improve on that and you're getting bored, what should you therefore do? That's not even a name. Thank you, Daniel, for the subscription. After this, you can try out other setups. And the thing I'm going to talk about today is a setup which we're going to particularly concentrate on against the Queen's Indian, the Nimzo Indian, when Black does this setup. It's very like the London system, but it's not the London system. It is the Tory attack. And again, don't worry about names. Thank you, DMU, for subscribing. The idea is to not put the bishop on f4, but put the bishop on g5. So this is why I'm trying to connect everything to the London system. So for example, here in the Tory, our second move is normally knight to f3. And then after e6, this is what happens if Black wants to play the Queen's Indian, Nimzo Indian. We're going to put the bishop on this square. And this is a great sort of natural step from learning the London. In the London system, you put the bishop on f4. In the Tory, it turns into the Tory, you put it on g5. But in principle, they have the same ideas. And that's what you want to do as you improve in chess. If you know the ideas in one opening, you can adapt them to another opening, and you've got an easy way. You don't have to learn things from scratch again. You might recognize ideas in the middle game. You might, you learn in a much more, I would say, gradual and nicer way. Now, this is what I've just done a DVD on for ChessBase. And this is what I'm mainly going to be talking about today, this position here. Now, I would like to say that against d5, if Black is a d5 player, I don't think the Tory, by putting the bishop on g5, is the best way for White to play. So you normally go knight to f3 second, and then let's say knight to f6. In this position, I wouldn't put my bishop on g5 here, because Black has knight to e4. So again, you've got to be quite adaptable when you're playing these openings, and it depends on what your opponent plays. You adapt to your opponent's play. If my opponent plays d5 in the first two moves, I wouldn't play the Tory and put my bishop on g5. But against, after d4, against the Nimzo Indian, Queen's Indian, I certainly do like this idea, bishop g5. And another thing I would like to say is that the Trompovsky is an opening with bishop g5. This is called the Trompovsky. This is an opening that many English grandmasters have played, the most famous being actually Julian Hodgson, who you may not have heard of, but he's given up chess now. He was about 2650, very strong player, and he made this move very, very popular. Now, very fun, you might have seen me playing this in Blitz. A very fun line here is knight to e4. So we mentioned this before with the pawns here and the knight here, but it's slightly different now. And now the Raptor opening, h4. This is brilliant fun, and I love playing this opening. This is so much fun. One line which I really enjoy playing here is if c5, d5. I'll take questions a little bit later. I just want to get my general explanations out of the way, and then we'll take questions. I'll sort of try to open myself up to questions, and I just want to show you a little bit about the Tory, the things I've learnt, some new ideas that I've found that will shock your opponents as well. But I'm just talking about this opening now because they're all quite similar, as you might see. They all involve similar ideas. The bishop goes here in the Trompovsky, it goes here now. And one of the most fun lines in the Tory sorry, in the Trompovsky, is this line here, where you give up a pawn on b2, but you get lots of play here. You go e4, you have a very good centre. You have a rook coming to b1, you give up another pawn, and the h-pawn's quite handy to attack. So, you know, these are all opening ideas, and if you're going to play them, you must be aware of what you're trying to achieve. And the reason I mention knight to f6 and the Trompovsky of bishop g5 is the second main defense here for black is e6. And this move has been played by Karpov, Kasparov, a lot of the top guys. And in this position, one of the main lines is e4. The knight can't take it, it's pinned. But again, you might now see that if you have, and this is what I'm trying to teach you, if you can improve your openings but stick in the same range, if we play knight to f3 now, we're in the Tory. So what you can do, what I'm hopefully trying to show you here is, once you learn a particular setup, you can sort of adjust it a little bit, and then you have more options when you're playing. Even though all the ideas are the same, you become a better player, you become a more knowledgeable player. We're in the Tory here. And this is really the position I wanted to talk about mainly today. Now, you can also play this, I would say I just wouldn't play the Tory against d5. So after knight f3, if my opponent played d5 here, I'd either go c4 because I know this opening, but if you don't like playing c4, then bishop f4 is a good way to get in the London system. Now, another thing you can do, which we might have time to look at today, but doubtful, is that if black plays g6, which is a main move, I don't think there's any refutation of the Trompovsky, the Fuchsia. It's impossible. I mean, it's just an opening. I mean, the thing is, it's really weird openings. I mean, we're talking about an opening here. I think amateur players who don't play many tournaments or have started playing, they get too into the openings. Openings are important, but they're not the most important thing. Tactics, middle game ideas. Normally, though, middle game ideas come from the opening. You know, even if you get an equal position as white, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, chess is probably a draw. Most openings, even if you watch Magnus Carlsen play, does he ever get a better position as white? Does anyone at that level? And the answer is probably no. Normally they get equal positions, but the most important thing is if you like the position you've got and you enjoy playing it, and mainly if you understand it better than your opponent. So you understand the ideas, how to stop your opponent's ideas, what you're trying to do. This is what you need to do, the knowledge. If you have a high level of knowledge, it's okay. I mean, just to answer that question about Trompovsky, d5 is certainly a good move. Now, what would I play against d5 if I got this now? And this is meant to be a way to equalize in Trompovsky. For example, you can double the pawns here. I don't like this, doing this as white, but just to try to show you the way my brain is working and what I'm trying to teach you in this lesson, because I play the Tory, because I play the London system with a bishop here, because I play the Jabava London system, and I'm playing all these things which all connect together. In this position, I wouldn't want my opponent to play knight e4, but I'd still want to get into the positions that I know well in the middle game. So I would go for knight d2 here, and my idea is to go basically into a London system with c3, e3, knight to f3, bishop to d3, because I know those positions very well. The only difference is my bishop's on g5 and not on f4. And again, this is the kind of way you can adapt your opening. So for example, let's just say, I don't know, some more moves come in, e6. The setup I'm going for is as such with white. And you can see that around here, it's like a London system, but by my bishop on this square. So, you know, you just want to play, what I'm getting at, you want to play positions that you're comfortable playing and you know well. And there's many ways to get into those positions. Okay, so I think I'll take some questions in a minute, but the most important things I want to say is I just want to show you some ideas, mainly in the position after e6. But I also should mention, if your opponent plays the King's Indian defense, I think the Tory is a good opening here as well. It's a very good opening against the King's Indian defence, and we can look at some ideas there. But first of all, we're mainly concentrating today on bishop g5, pinning the knight in this position. And this might be something that you guys might want to try. Now, there's really only two things I want to teach you. I don't want to make things overly complicated, because I understand most of you watching this are not grandmaster level, of course, and you probably want something simple that you might want to go and try out after watching this stream. You might think, so I want to keep the ideas simple. Now, against this move, bishop g5, first of all, what is white trying to do? Well, I would say we're just trying to play like we do in the London system. Let's keep it simple. So we're trying to go e3, put our knight on d2, bishop on d3, pawn on c3. But we're trying to say our bishop is more aggressively placed here, because we can take the knight off there or keep the pin and get an attack. So let me show you a game that I had in this line, hopefully to prove that. Well, a main move here, I'm just going to get the game up, if you don't mind me doing that, is h6. And this is given in a lot of books as being a good move, asking the question to the bishop. Now, every move you've got to think logically. Here, taking the knight would be a big mistake. Why have you developed a piece just to swap it off? I mean, that is just stupid. You know, it is stupid. I'm even going to say it. You're stupid if you play that. What we want to do here, we have a pin, so why do we want to take the knight? We want to keep the pin and keep our bishop on the most aggressive square. And we're basically saying to black, well, if you want to play g5, you can, but that is a weakening move, because where is your king going to go now? If your king castles king side, it will be weak on the king side. So I'm happy for you to play g5. So a normal response now, and this can come in a lot of different move orders, but we're sticking with our plan, but we have to adapt to our opponent's plan. But black will generally want to play d5, c5 or b6, but they can be quite similar. The main move here is c5, trying to attack the center a bit. So what do we play here? We want to do like we do in the London, and we want to really put our pawns on these two squares to consolidate the top of our pyramid, the d4 pawn. So in this position, e3 is correct, I would say. And after this move, let's now look at some normal developing moves. So b6, so black could have played b6 before. We'll also have a look at what happens if d5, but b6 is an idea. And now let's just develop our pieces. So knight d2, bishop b7. We've got one more piece to develop. Let's put it on the most aggressive square. Knight to d3. And now black normally puts this knight on that square. He can also try to develop this bishop here. He's got to develop his pieces. Now, the rule is, as soon as black breaks the pin by playing bishop to e7, and this is the first rule I want to get to, as soon as he plays this move, now the knight on f6 can move. Espin, thank you for the subscription. It's good to be back. Because the knight is not pinned anymore, that knight can move. So my rule is, which I only found out from filming this DVD, is as follows. When h6 has been played and bishop e7 being played, only now do we play bishop takes f6. Now I know I said this looked stupid before, but the reason is, and again, this is what I'm talking about, when you play an opening, you need to know the middle game ideas. This is what will win you games. It's not what you do in the opening, it's what you do in the middle part of the game. So why have I taken there? Well, after bishop takes, which is natural, I'm going to go c3 and we get my pyramid. Black will probably castle. Now, white will probably castle. And now often black will take on this square. We take with the e pawn, because if we take with a c pawn, it's a bit too symmetrical, so it's a bit too drawish. And also taking with the e pawn gives us an open e file. And I've had this in a couple of games already. Now black has to decide where to put the knight. It either goes to c6 or d7. Let's say it goes to c6. Now what is white's idea here, and why have I taken on f6? White's idea here is to play queen e2 and generally play what Fiona calls the Fione attack. Bishop c2, queen d3 or queen e4 and checkmate on h7. Now you may be thinking that's ridiculous, you're never going to play that. But it's funny, I've had so many wins with this already. And the reason I have now taken on f6 should be clear. I've got rid of a knight that is defending that square. The knight on f6 was a good defending piece, so I've eliminated it. The reason I've only done this when there's a pawn on h6 is that when I do my attack, g6 is now not as secure. So let's play a couple more moves. Rook c8, and here, well, I could go queen here straight away, but I mean a very nice move here is h4. But I want to show you why this is a nice move in a second. But queen e4 is a general idea, and I'm already threatening checkmate, and this is what I'm talking about, middle game ideas. There's only one way to stop that, g6. Now the pawn on h6 makes a big difference. If that pawn was back on h7, my plan here as white would be a lot less effective, and I'm trying to teach you middle game plans here as well, because this pawn on g6 would be defended by two guys. But in this position, after g6, the pawn on g6 is only defended by one pawn, so it's a weakness. So what I would play here, and I had a game that went like this, I actually went h4 first. So let's just pass it over to you guys now. What is the idea of h4? What is my very simple idea? I want to keep it simple. It's a simple plan. You guys tell me what is a simple idea. Give me a chance to have a bit more coffee as well. So what is the simple idea here? Yeah, I think you most of all got it. You very simply got it. Yeah, well done to everyone who's got the idea. It's really to fight against g6, because then h5 is going to try to get rid of that pawn. So if black's not paying attention here, and let's say maybe plays d5. Okay, what would we play against d5? Because d5 stops our queen coming to e4. So let's think on our feet. And then we have to adapt to our opponent's plans. What would you play here? Yeah, bishop h4, queen e4 does win a piece. I should point that out. Good point. If black takes this one, this is a fork, threatening checkmate and threatening the bishop. So we're going to win a piece. So let's just go back to maybe black thinks he's clever by playing this move now. Now you have to get the move order right here, but what's the general idea? Chigs, Cuffwin has probably got the right move order, but the idea here, and this is why I'm talking about ideas, not individual moves, not openings. When you play an opening, know what you're trying to do in the middle game. The idea here is indeed you still want to get your queen to this diagonal, and this is one of the most important attacking ideas you will see in chess. I remember my dad taught me this when I was like, I don't know, 7 years old, and I always remember it. And the idea would be to go bishop c2, queen d3 and checkmate. But I wouldn't do it here, because now black might be able to take this pawn, because we can't go queen e4 anymore, we lose our queen. So what I would do first is play h5. The reason I've done this is to stop black playing g6. Let's say he plays, I don't know, knight a5, trying to improve his pieces. Now bishop c2, knight c4, queen d3, and all of a sudden we have a very strong attack here in this position. Because we're threatening checkmate, and g6 is not possible because now we take it. And think, if the pawn was back on h7, black might better play g6. But now black has to try to run the king towards the center. So this is just one of the ideas from the opening which I picked up. Now let's go all the way back to move 1, because this is like an idea in move 20. And I just wanted to show you this one idea and a couple of other ideas to give you a taster of this opening. I don't want to confuse things too much, but what I always like to do is run through, when I've shown you something, run through it again so you can try to remember it and guess the move. So knight f3, e6, bishop g5. And now if h6 is played, we keep the pin, but we also note that h6 in the long term weakens the light squares over here. So we already know maybe what our plan is going to be. So our plan is basically going to be to develop and later on to checkmate black on h7. So let me play some moves and ask you some questions. So let's do a slightly different move order. b6, it doesn't matter. We go e3, bishop b7. Let's go knight d2. This is always our setup. And now let's play bishop e7. What do you play here? What do you play here? Who was listening to the rules? You're getting a free lesson off a grandmaster here now on an opening. That can't be bad. Most grandmasters charge $100 an hour for this, so you're getting a free lesson. So what do you play now? Okay, well a couple of you got the right answers. So Ab Jug Or and Call Me Cooney, well done. You've got the right answer. Well done. Remember the rule: as soon as black has broken the pin, and only when he's broken the pin, he might be threatening some knight move. I mean, you don't have to play it here. The one thing I should have pointed out before in the last line, let's say c5's played. Black often takes here first to get this position and then goes here. And now the knight move here is even stronger for black. So for example, if we play bishop d3, knight d5 is a very good idea. And I want to show you also the things you want to avoid, because now we really have to swap bishops. And why is this knight move better now? Because the exchange on d4 has helped black. Why? Because black has got rid of a pawn on e3. Why is that helpful? Because if we do something like castles, black has this square for the knight. And this is a very good square for the knight. You know, bishop e4, d5, for example. So it's, you know, these are kind of the little subtle things you've got to bear in mind. But I would say as a general rule, if we go back to, let's say, e3, here, bishop e7, I would take that one straight away to stop it. And now after this one, let's say c3, c5. Now, someone did mention in this line you can play e4, and I'd also say that e4 is a good move, and this is a secondary idea, and this is another reason why black often takes on d4 early, because now, you know, e4 would not be possible if we've already taken with our e pawn. So e4 is playable, but if you want to keep with my simple plan of bishop d3, and when they take on d4, take here, let's have a look at maybe what happens after castles. Castles, the black knight goes to this square. Okay, what do we play now then? So what would you guys play now? And you don't have to rush this. You don't have to rush this. You can improve your pieces. Put your rook on a half-open file. Maybe put your knight on a good square there. The knight is very well placed on e4. It attacks. So give me some ideas now. So we have queen e2. I like queen e2. King h1's a waste of time. We don't want to play that. a4, a5 is a nice idea, but the problem is a4 is always met by a6. And if we go a5, b5 is played. And we haven't really done much over there. I'm trying to tell you one particular plan. And the one particular plan is to get the queen to h7. This is the plan I'm trying to teach you. Get rid of the knight, get the queen to h7. So how is the best way of doing this? Well, I mean, we can think about this slowly. I would not go bishop b1 because it blocks my rook in. I wouldn't want to do that first. If I was going to do that, I would go rook c1 first, and then I'd go bishop b1, which is a good plan. I like it. That would be a much better plan. I think the way I would play this is to probably, there's no rush, I would probably go rook to e1 first, because in this line, my queen might not get to e4. So I'm probably going to try to get my queen to d3 and my bishop to c2. So this is what I'm trying to think. How do I get my queen to this square and my bishop to this square? Well, I can go queen e2, bishop c2, queen d3. That takes me 3 moves. Or I can move the knight, one move the bishop, and then move the queen. And my knight's on a better square there. So I would either go knight e4 now, or I would go rook e1 first, just because it's a good square. And let's just say here, then I go knight e4. for example, threatening a pawn. Let's say bishop e7, and now what would you play? Okay, this is a bit simpler. So I think the knight is good on e4. This is a good knight. So what do we play now? And everyone should better spot this plan now. Everyone. What plan do you play now? What plan do you play now? Yes, e hatipo, bishop c2. Very, very simple. Let's say rook to c8, queen d3. And already we are threatening some nasty ideas. Let's say black doesn't pay attention and plays rook to c7. This is a retty idea, trying to put the queen here. What would be a very strong move now? Because we've created a middle game idea. What is a strong move now? Well done, Dark Verks. And knight to f6 does not work because black has knight to f6 and defends. Be careful, you've lost a piece. But a better move is knight takes d6, threatening checkmate, and doing something over here. Now, I'm sorry if this lesson is a bit hard as well. You know, I'm just trying to get some general ideas across. You know, we'll do some simpler stuff another time. But this is a very strong idea. And you can see how we've created threats. Now, here, how does black block up this diagonal? Well, if he goes f5, every pawn move makes a weakness. And what does f5 really weaken? When your opponent moves a pawn, you should try to target their weaknesses. What square does f5 weaken? Well done, Hatipo, dyslexic. It weakens mainly, well, g6 as well, King Wiki, you're right, but mainly e6, because we have a half open line against that. And if we just move the knight back, we are now threatening the pawn on e6, and this is really hard for black to defend. We're always going to have an attack against that pawn. So a more normal move would be g6, and now, well, there's a couple of ideas here, but I know what I would play here. So guys, what would you play here? So, and again, this works so much better because the pawn is on h6, not on h7, helping the defense. Knight to h3, knight to g3, maybe. Come on, let's see if anyone guesses the move. Coup crisps. I mean, come on, if you're ever in doubt, then h4 is a move you should always consider. My stupid rule. Why not? Because we want to go h5 and get rid of that pawn. If our opponent takes on h4, we can now take a very nice central pawn, attacking everything. That bishop was defending that, it's not anymore. And the idea of playing h4, h5 and attacking here is an idea I think it'd be good for you guys to remember. So, I mean, I don't want to, you know, it's just a little idea, and you can, if you're a subscriber to my channel, you can have a look at this video a couple of times if you've forgotten the idea. I might put this up on YouTube as well. I mean, if black plays the move h5 here, well, let's answer your question. What should white play? I'll let you guys decide. There's a very strong idea here, but I want to keep it simple. And the idea I wanted to show you was with this h6 move, this attacking idea in the Tory, what is a very strong move for... Which knight would you move to g5, by the way? Which knight? Yes, I would move a knight to g5 because he's weakened that square, but which knight would you move there? With what idea? I don't really like knight g3. Maybe it's okay because you want to take that pawn on h5, but I want to go forwards. I always want to go forwards. Well, I like moving this knight because it opens up the rook and it unblocks the queen. And what is my idea? Let's say rook c7. What is a very winning move here for white? And again, it's all because of these two pieces, the Fione attack. What is a winning move? Hopefully everyone can see it. Yes, well done everyone who's recommended it. Dyslexic, you might be correct as well, but I like knight takes e6. Again, if there was a pawn on h7, this would not work because g7 would be defended, g6, sorry. But here, we can simply come in and look at the power of that queen. Very, very strong. Checkmate. Well, you might also be able to take on e6 with the rook as well. This might also be very strong because now you're threatening rook takes g6. This is also a winning idea. I had one game, just to show you that these things work. I was playing a 2300 player, So very strong player. And we got this position. And the game went as such. It went here. My opponent was oblivious to the idea. He went here. And now he went here. And, oh no, yes. So h4 would have been a better move. I think it was a blitz game. So I tried a crazy idea here. h4 is the move I just showed you. The crazy idea I tried was knight takes d6. Now, after I lose a piece, what is my idea here? This is just, it didn't work. I mean, h4 is better, but what's my idea here? Just to show you some other ideas and why the rook is good on e1. What is my follow-up idea? You should be aware of it now. h4 would have been better, but what about this? And of course, the idea is rook takes here, attacking the bishop and attacking the pawn on g6. So if the bishop moves, I now take here, check, and I come in like this and checkmate him. Okay, so the next thing I do want to show you, and a question that's been asked in the chat, what happens if black does not play h6? A good question, and there's only so much I can show you in this stream. It's only a short stream. I'm just having a bit of a lunch break, just trying to get back in streaming. Well, the other idea I wanted to show you, because obviously if you want to look at this more, you can probably see in the chat, you can buy the chess-based DVD. It's 6 hours long. I'm not going to obviously do the whole 6 hours here again. You can buy it, I think it's like €25 or something like that. So you can, if you want to learn this opening more, do go and buy the chess-based DVD. I get a little bit of royalties from chess-based. I have to say, you know, I went to Hamburg and I filmed these DVDs for another company, and the royalties, you know, they're not great. You know, so if you really want to support me, then do buy from GingerGM. I get more of that, but it still helps. But let's say the next idea I wanted to show you, which is a very rare idea. If c5 is played immediately and not h6, well, we can do the same kind of thing, but it's not as effective. So let's just show you what happens if the same kind of thing is played. Probably e3 is better, because remember, we always want to take with the e pawn. Let's just have a look. So let's say we get the same kind of thing. Both sides develop, but remember, h6 has not been played, so black hasn't weakened the light squares. And in this variation, if we try to do the same thing, which you can do, it's going to be a lot less effective. Hey, Perno, hello there, sir. I think that was Beam Me Up Scotty who gifted that. So actually, thank you very much, Beam Me Up Scotty. Very kind of you. And if we try to do the same thing here, I don't know, let's do the same kind of thing at some point. Here, bishop here. I'm playing some moves. This is not as effective because after here, it's much better defended. So the only other thing I wanted to show you was a very interesting idea I found, and a very rare idea. And that idea was, if black plays c5 immediately, I found the following idea, which is a new idea, and that is d5. And this move, it's included on the DVD, and I thought, whoa, this is so exciting. And it looks crazy at first, but it's a really interesting, sort of newish idea, and about move 3 or 4, which you hardly get in chess. Now, first of all, why can't we do this after something like here? Why can't we go d5 now? Well, the point now is that this pin, the reason this pawn idea works is because of the pin. And now black can play g5. Even though he will weaken his king position, he will win this pawn with the knight. And I don't think white has quite enough compensation here. But if h6 hasn't been played and c5 now, if black tries to play h6, we don't retreat, we take on f6, and this can lead to a winning position very quickly. For example, queen takes, knight c3, and already white has e4, e5 coming, and we're just coming through the center. Very dangerous for black. I mean, this is probably just a very good position for white, because the pawn's coming here, this pawn could be coming here. I hope you agree with that. I have 2 knights developed. My opponent only has the queen developed, so it's got to be good. So what does black play against this very rare move? Well, the most normal idea would be to take it. Because if black doesn't take it, we're going to go knight c3 and e4. So for example, d6, knight c3 and e4. And this is a very good position for white, I feel. So the idea I came across is pawn takes here. Thank you, Studas, for subscribing. And in this position, previously I found 2 games where white plays the move e3 here. But the idea which I found fascinating here, and I just want to sort of share this with you, was the following idea. And this is the new idea. Now we take on f6. And now I did say this was stupid before, but you can play silly looking ideas if you have a particular idea in mind. And my idea now is to get my knight, this guy, to this square. Because if the knight gets there, it will be fantastic. My opponent won't be able to kick it away with c6 or e6. So how do I do that? I take on f6 first. And after queen takes, my idea is now not to play queen takes d5, but knight c3. And again, I'm just showing you a secret line here. And the knight wants to come here. And if I get the knight there, I've got a fantastic position. For example, let's say d6, knight takes d5. Look at that beast, threatening these 2 things. And black can never get rid of this knight, because that's what we call an outpost, and black can't attack the outpost. So the only move I think black can play here, well, what would you play as black? Let's give it to you guys. What would you play as black here? What would you play as black? Why wouldn't he play d4? Well, that's what we're going to look at. d4. Correct. d4 is the only move. He wants to keep his pawn and come forwards. And now we go knight to d5 anyway. And this has never been played before. It's a new position on move 7, which I think is brilliant. And the idea now is the knight attacks the queen and comes in here. So the queen has to move. Now, where should the queen move to? I came to the decision that d6 is the best square to attack the knight. Now, the reason c6 is not correct, and this is something I want to share with you, is because we can now go e4, and e4 is our important idea. Let's just say black takes on e3. Now, there's an amazing idea here. Well, let's make it even simpler. What about d6? If black plays d6 to try to develop the bishop, white to play and win. Yeah, call me Cooney's got it straight away. Call me Cooney. We can have a look at other moves a little bit more. I mean, I'm not saying this is a winning idea, but I checked it with a computer. The computer gives it as equal, maybe a little bit better for white, but equal's okay when we sacked a pawn and we've got our opponent out of preparation. Equal's fine. What do we play here? There's a winning move here. Winning move. Bang! Yes, nice little tactic there. This is like a common tactic that you see. And with the queen takes the bishop, that is one hell of a fork. Boom! You should say. You know, you're forking everything. You're forking his whole life. So basically, I'm not going to go into too much thing, but I mean, in that last line, someone asked, "What if bishop to d6?" Well, that's fair enough. I would say against bishop d6, there's a real traffic jam of black pieces here, so we might not win quickly, as we did in the last game, but we can just, I mean, look at when our opponent castles kingside, he has no pieces near his king. So I'd be very happy to play this. I might even play a4 here with the threat of playing bishop to b5. If my opponent now castles, bishop b5 wins the queen. Wins the queen, or you know, and this is really horrible. When black is getting busted here. So the one more line I want to show you before I give up, you know, I've done my lesson then, is I think queen d6 is best. And if you check this with a computer, I use Komodo 12, very strong, about 3,200 rating. Komodo gives this as the best move because Komodo wants to get the knight to this square. And now, what do we play now? We play e4 again. Now, the beautiful line I wanted to share with you, and this is my own analysis, is if black takes on, pass on. Don't forget about it. If we take the knight, the queens come off. We don't want that. What is the move to play here? Let's play like Morphy. We'll make Morphy proud. Come on, guys. What would you play? Development. Attack. Checkmate. Our opponent's king is in the middle. Our opponent hasn't developed his pieces. So how do we develop an attack? Let's not worry about pawns. What would you play as white here? Yes, Blitzy, King Wiki, I walk, Bishop C4. Yes, why not? Just get another piece into the game. And then I looked at this with the computer. Let's say black takes another pawn with check. Now we can simply recapture, and this attack, according to the computer, is now completely winning for white. Because we have the knight coming here, rook coming here, queen coming here, and every white piece will be attacking soon. Every single white piece. Let's just show that. So let's say knight here. Well, I think I'll start with a rook check. Now let's say king d8. Let's move the knight in, threatening checkmate. And this is, I checked with Alpha Zero. I had a quick check with Alpha Zero. Of course I have Alpha Zero. And this is completely winning for black, for white. F6, that's quite a nice checkmate. There's nothing that can be done here. And I checked, yeah, so I have checked this all, and it's a very nice little line. So I just wanted to share with you those little things I found in the Tory, and I hope you remember those lines. Let's go through them one more time. Just a little idea. And the Tory, and this is mainly against the Queen's Indian. I don't have time to show you what to do against other lines like the King's Indian. But this idea, and the H6 idea, the rule is if H6, you play normally, but later on you take the knight when the bishop recaptures, and you go for a queen checkmate on H7 when they castle. Simple rules. If black plays C5, you now can try this very interesting pawn sacrifice, D5. And you can try this one. Now, of course, when you play this, your opponent might not play knight F6, E6, but you can sort of see how top players, well, you know, grandmasters develop their openings. It's the way I try to explain it to you here. So I hope that that's helped a little bit, you know, just a little bit. I hope that's helped you. I mean, I'm going to try to play now a couple of games of blitz, see if I can get this in one of my blitz games. But the thing is, it's all about learning, and even if you don't get to try this, it's the way that I was thinking, which hopefully you should start thinking this way when you're building your openings up. You know, when you're building your openings, try to pick ones like that, and you could see how I was really even thinking about checkmate ideas in the middle game when I'm playing move one. And that's another thing to bear in mind. When you're reading books, think about the middle game things. Some books are rubbish. They never teach you what to do in the middle game. Let's see if we can get a blitz game now. Let's see if I can crush some fools. Gonna crush you, fool. Gonna crush you, fool.